And maybe related to what is currently happening. When 2020 came, of course, the pandemic, and especially the people in the hotel industry and most of the people who had secure jobs lost their jobs. And you find a lot of people were suffering from anxiety. A lot of people ended up being depressed out of a situation that was a happening that we didn't actually expect. We didn't expect to have a pandemic. It's something we've not dealt with before, and it affected the lives of very, very many people. Now, depression from that perspective, whereby you've faced a very untimely and very, like, it may happen to say loss.
Well, what I will say is we normally tell people you can't control what happens. In most cases, you don't have control of what happens to your life. The only thing that you have control over is the response, how you respond. Now, how you respond determines the outcome. So the equation is the thing happens, whatever happens is happening outside there, or the action, then plus the response that you give it is what determines now the outcome. So this is to mean basically COVID-19 happened to everybody, virtually everybody, because if you look at it, even those people are not affected directly, they were affected indirectly. The people never lost their jobs maybe, but they have relatives who lost their jobs, so they end up picking the responsibility of either raising them, taking care of their children and all these other things. So it's a question of how do you respond to it, because again, the same people that are in the hotel sector, there are those who went under, and then there are those who thrived doing other things. You know, people decided to do food delivery, door-to-door delivery. I have friends who are doing that. Others decided to just go buy things, park in the boot of a car, go and sell. So it's a question of how do you respond to it. Again, also it's a question of how much shock can you absorb in terms of changes in seasons, changes in events, changes in times. And this one is important to emphasize the role of being open again, being open to everything. That's not attaching your life to one thing or just focusing on one thing and saying, if I don't make it, I will make it just here. So being open will give you free way of thinking out of it. You find people are fixated towards that job. You know, this is my lifeline and this is who I am. They define themselves based on the job again. They are the people who are the hardest hit. But people are able to adjust, come out of it and say, okay, this happened, I have no control about it, it's happening to everyone, so what do I do differently? Those are people who survived. So to avoid that kind of tendency where you're being pushed by circumstances and events, number one, you have to be having a very open mindset, knowing that things can change. Of course, things will always be changing at every moment. And then be open to new ideas, new experiments, and then finally, no, it is not happening to you alone.
All right, we need to take a short break, but when